Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Michael Johnson, and in this video, we're going to talk about the history of the Assemblies of God from Azusa Street to today. So, the Assemblies of God can really trace its roots back to the Azusa Street Revival, which began in 1906 and was led by William J. Seymour. A lot of Pentecostal denominations can trace their roots back to this one revival in California that took place on Azusa Street. It was very impactful and had worldwide implications that we still see today, including in our own denomination of the Assemblies of God. In fact, if you really wanted to look as far back as you could for Pentecostalism, you could look all the way in Acts 2, but in more recent times, we have had outpourings of the Spirit in the 1718 and, like we said, most notably the 1900s. Following the Azusa Street Revival, the Assemblies of God was founded in Hot Springs, Arizona in 1914, and the Assemblies of God has continued to grow to what it is today, and it has such a rich history. The main focus of the Assemblies of God is to spread the gospel and to do so to all corners of the earth as we are instructed to in Acts 2. Because of this, missions has been a huge part of the AG from the very beginning. It really has its own roots within the denomination. Over the years, many missionaries have been sent all across the globe and had a direct impact on the world. It would take hours or maybe even days to go over every single missionary that we call a hero of the faith that God has used through the Assemblies of God across the world. So instead of doing that, we're just going to focus on a couple of different organizations and programs that have partnered or deal directly with the Assemblies of God denomination. Some key organizations and groups that I want to point out are Speed the Light. It was founded in 1944 with the goal of providing missionaries with vehicles, transportation, and means of communication all over the world. Convoy of Hope was founded in 1994, which helps people around the globe in so many different ways, and primarily, but not limited to, providing humanitarian relief for both natural and man-made disasters. So anything from hurricanes, earthquakes, to a full-blown war. A Convoy of Hope is always on the front lines, doing whatever they can to help people, feed people, keep people clothed, and give them the basic human necessities. And the last organization I want to touch on is Chi Alpha, which is heavily focused on spreading the gospel and creating strong Christian roots in college communities and campuses. It has been making an impact on young people's lives since 1953. So this is just a brief overview of how the AG got started. So it started in the Azusa Street Revival that led to the founding of the denomination in 1914, and we kept adding on organizations and programs and groups that we would partner with or directly found to go and spread the gospel or spread aid throughout the entire globe. And then that leads us to where we are today. And if you're going to talk about the church of today, you really have to look at how Assemblies of God churches are structured, because ultimately none of this would be possible without having a sound church to go back to. It's a partnership of churches to begin with, and if the churches themselves aren't properly structured, biblically based, and spiritually sound, none of this would matter in the first place, because we wouldn't be able to spread the gospel effectively if we weren't rooted correctly. So the last thing I want us to look at is how the AG churches are structured. The Assemblies of God churches that you see today, you will typically find some version of a hybrid congregational/Presbyterian governance, where authority and responsibility is delegated to others, but the members of the church still have a say or a vote in the direction that the church goes under that leadership. The AG believes in having some sort of board, whether a deacon or advisor board, to assist with administrative and business duties of the church and help make practical decisions. Another board that is highly recommended to be established in any church where it is physically possible is a board of elders, a small group of spiritual, wise, and experienced members of the church that can help advise the pastoral and administrative staff on spiritual issues. In my church, these elders that we have are not only very sound spiritually and very mature spiritually, but they also do a great job of creating community, making people feel welcome, and just making it a point to reach out to people and help be direct staples of the community. So like we said, most Assemblies of God churches today follow this sort of structure where you're going to have pastoral staff, whether it's one or many pastors, a board of advisors or deacons, and typically a board of elders as well. From the outside looking in, it could be confusing to see why there are all these different people involved. especially if the members still have a say or a vote as well. It's a good way to hold people accountable and have people that are higher up in authority have people that they're still accountable to as well, and they can't just do whatever they'd like. And again, I think it's really important to talk about how this church is structured after you go through and look at the history of how did we even get here in the first place, because we are a group of churches that has decided to come together and collaborate and work together and work with one another. And if our churches are not healthy, if our churches are not sound, how are we going to be able to spread the gospel effectively? And this is just a scratch on the surface of how we got to where we are today as the AG. The AG has this rich history of spreading the gospel and doing our best to live out the Acts 2 command of going to all ends of the earth.